I've always wondered this because it startles me that despite all the evidence that Donald Trump is nothing short of being an amoral, narcissistic, pathological liar who has broken almost every single one of his election promises, that people still continue to mindlessly support him. They are being diagnosed with Trump defense syndrome. That is the real TDS. And my question is, with the $1 trillion deficit, no wall in Mexico, no repeal and replace, a spike of coronavirus deaths, and even higher estimated toll by July, what is it going to take for the Donald Trump supporters to break out of the cult? The only way for the insane people who still support Donald Trump, the only way that they break out of this cult of personality, this conditioning that you've seen in places like Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, Soviet Russia, and North Korea. How do you break out of this trance? What is the only possible way that these people break out of the Donald Trump cult? Death. It has to take death of family members for these people to break out of the Trump cult, since they're stupid already to not have waken up to Donald Trump and his broken promises already, as we've seen with the midterms record House flip for the Democratic Party, the biggest one since Watergate. It's going to take death. And already, my election map as it is may be an unbiased election map if this second wave is going to hit the rural South. It's going to take death for these people to break free from the Donald Trump cult. Already we've seen rising numbers in rural areas. The coronavirus starts in the metropolitan areas and the coast, then they spread towards the middle. Inevitably, it's going to hit the rural areas. Florida is the hotspot of transmission to the other places in the South. Luckily, in the West Coast, San Francisco avoided a Super Bowl parade for the 49ers. LA had to shut down quicker than New York. New York had all these Europeans traveling over there. It's literally going to take death. Death is the only way for these people to break free from the cult of Donald John Trump. The cult of personality for the racists, the xenophobes, and the far-right Christians. Is somebody who's going to take them back to 1950 when America was white. The loss of Mitt Romney in the election of the first black president was responsible for this cult of personality, because racism did not exit the Republican Party even after the election of Barack Obama. Even as Obama worked to be a compromiser, the Republicans tried to undermine Barack Obama's presidency, and the Masonic Zionist cult understand this. They understand old white people being fucked over by NAFTA. I completely get it. But that does not excuse them from stupidity and bigotry and xenophobia. Because Bernie Sanders was going to have a plan to bring those jobs back without exhibiting the worst qualities of the GOP that keeps these sheep in control with irrational hatred and fear. The beast understands this. The billionaires, whose goal is to crash the economy by reopening it too soon, understands exactly. They have this cult controlled. The billionaire think tanks funding those protests are ready to set off the crash by loosening up restrictions. They are the beast. They are the mark of the beast that I talk about with the Donald Trump cult. They are completely brainwashed by establishment and far-right propaganda, because the writing was already in the wall. 666 Fifth Avenue of Jared Kushner and the $666 billion deficit in the first year of Donald Trump, and the $3.7 trillion deficit that we can see after the coronavirus. Before the coronavirus, the deficit was $1 trillion for this year. Could you imagine what the budget was for 2021, even without the coronavirus? Donald Trump inaccurately has boasted that he had this coronavirus under control. He has lied immensely about the coronavirus being a serious threat. The President of the United States is supposed to be a resource for information and leadership and guidance, but that is not what has happened under Donald Trump. Let's look at the amount of times that Donald Trump has downplayed the very serious threat of the coronavirus. And before I get to this, reopening the economy too soon, if we loosen up everything, more people are sure to die from this. 233,000 by July if we open the economy too soon. Already, the United States has endured the deadliest one-day death toll, close to 2,900 people. As many people that died on 9/11. Now, these people had the coronavirus, got infected 2 weeks ago, and we are enduring the worst one-day death toll. Can you imagine by loosening restrictions, people get infected at the beginning of May, and then by the end of May and June, that is when they have to get a ventilator, and that's when we see the spike in the death toll. Once we loosen the restrictions, it is too early to open the economy, and the billionaires, their goal is to set off the crash, because the billionaires know how serious this pandemic is. They also knew how many times Donald Trump has failed to ban travel from other countries into America who have endured the coronavirus. COVID-19 was happening in Europe in February. Donald Trump waited until the very last minute, until the World Health Organization declared this a pandemic. That's when the President of the United States suspends travel from Europe. The United Kingdom was one of the rising areas of coronavirus cases. The United Kingdom was exempt from the European ban to America. Of course, Donald Trump was making this worse. We also knew that Trump falsely claimed that he banned travel from China when we knew that airliners started to institute their own restrictions long before the president has done so. And Trump did not restrict travel for Americans back from China. So they were bringing this back from China, and even in the screenings in the airport, they could not diagnose asymptomatic carriers. So Donald Trump botched the ball completely with the travel bans. No testing, downplaying the virus, all of these times, because he is an absolute joke. He was asked about the COVID-19, the World Economic Forum. How much of a concern? No, not at all. We have it totally under control. It's one person coming from China. We have it under control. It's going to be just fine. January the 30th. He addresses the coronavirus. We think we have it very well under control. We have very little problem in this country at the moment. 5, and those people are all recuperating successfully. But we're working very closely with China. We think it's going to have a very good ending for us. Hopefully it won't be as bad as some people think it could be. Trump says coronavirus will be gone by the end of spring while speaking with reporters. The virus that we're talking about, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat, yada, yada, yada. Typically, they'll go away in April. We're in great shape. We're in great shape. February the 14th, despite Redfield saying the coronavirus will be in the U.S. beyond 2020, the jackass continues to push the idea that it will be gone in a matter of weeks. That's a theory that in April, when it gets warm, historically, that has been able to kill the virus. So we don't. Yeah, well, that's around the corner. We have it very much under control. He's not concerned about lives with the coronavirus. He's concerned about the stock market. So he could care less about grieving families in America who've had people killed because of the coronavirus and the lack of response from the Trump administration. He claims positive cases will soon decrease. We're going to be pretty soon at only 5 people. And we could just be at 1 or 2 people in the next short period of time. No doubt you're a fucking retard if you would prefer Donald Trump over Joe Biden. Many of the Republican Party is very stupid because they don't realize just how far off the hill the right wing that the Republican Party has gone. And even Donald Trump was on record as saying the Republican Party has just gone too crazy right. I have the tape with Donald Trump. Trump alleges Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus, calling it their new hoax. But as we know, Trump was completely wrong, so it can only be Trump that is politicizing the coronavirus for the stock market in his re-election. The coronavirus is disproportionately affecting Donald Trump supporters, but the Democrats want to save those lives. Donald Trump wants to sacrifice those lives in the name of reopening the economy. Sacrificing their own voters. You see how deranged the Trump cult is? I was speaking at the Conservative PAC conference. I've gotten to know these professionals. They're incredible. Everything is under control. I mean, they're very, very cool and very well under control. Hyperbole. A CPAC attendee tested positive for the coronavirus. In an interview with Sean Hannity, he calls the World Health Organization's estimated global death rate false, describing the coronavirus as very mild and suggests that those infected can get better by sitting around and going to work. So you can get better by being exposed to potentially people that are asymptomatic. Worst president in the history of this country. No, I'm not concerned at all. No, I'm not. No, I've done a great job. He bashes Democrats for sounding the alarm of the warning for the coronavirus far beyond what the facts would warrant. The common flu is far worse. How deranged is Donald Trump? Even those that survive with the coronavirus on a ventilator, they have shortened lifespans. Donald Trump is parroting the false narrative that Fox News completely backtracked from. It's completely backfiring. As the number of Americans, well, it's well beyond $10,000. He's recasting the effort to mitigate the impact as a war against an unseen enemy unleashed on the nation by China. But it was not released from a lab because the DNA sequences are not those of artificial viruses. This is only part of the denial that Donald Trump has had, but very clearly, when we reopen the economy, when we start to see a huge increase in cases, that is guaranteed to cause a spike in the death toll. All the COVIDiots out there, you're being played big time by the billionaires. The billionaires have a goal to crash the economy. I can go into detail more about that. Is this map unbiased? Potentially, if the coronavirus sweeps the South and we can see an election map like in 1980 when Ronald Reagan got elected in a landslide. That could put Donald Trump on the books as the worst president in the history of this country. Take a look at Georgia, 5%. Georgia may be a very interesting case. Iowa voted for Obama, voted for blue multiple times throughout the last 7 elections. Florida was only 1%. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan are under 1%. With poor voter turnout. 46 electoral votes. This gives the Democrats the win. On top of Florida being a battleground zone, on top of North Carolina, a state that Obama won after the Great Recession. Indiana was won by Obama after the Great Recession. Take Arizona, for example. It's another state on the other side, opposite of Florida, that is in jeopardy of going blue. You see this? The Republican Party, the only way that they save their re-election chances is to prioritize life over the economy. If Donald Trump did that in January and February, potentially could have been guaranteed re-election. But that's not what happened. Donald Trump cost himself re-election. Because there are a lot of idiots out there who forget about the tax cuts and the repeal of Obamacare for the billionaires out there. The billionaires want the economy to open again so they can cause the death toll to go up so they can short sell. They can sell off their stocks and buy them again on pennies of the dollar like con man Trump said in 2006. I sort of hope the market collapses. What if Donald Trump is encouraging his death cult to go out and protest in the name of buying up properties on pennies of the dollar if this guy has any money at all? This is a death cult. The billionaires want to crash the economy. This is proof of it right here. I go more into detail as to why we can't have a sound recovery like all the other countries. It's going to literally take death. A landslide victory is going to be the end of Donald Trump. Could really show that this map is really unbiased. This map could change if the shit really hits the fan. And already we're starting to see it right now. In swing states, it is really hurting him a lot, his lack of response. Pamela Rodriguez, retired teacher in Arizona, my home state, who voted for Donald Trump. Lifetime Republican, says she first started to nurse doubts about the president when he mocked the late maverick John McCain. But Trump's response, she says, has sealed her departure from the GOP. It's really cemented that I don't belong in this party any longer, and she plans to vote for Biden and Mark Kelly over the witch Kyrsten Sinema. Even in red states, his support is collapsing. It's going to be a real collapse if it takes death within the family. We all know the Republican voters in the South prioritize the family and their bigotry over anything else, including their economic well-being. I just don't think he's done anything to protect us. A 48-year-old teacher in Oklahoma who supported Trump. I think the whole COVID thing has sealed it. A Facebook group called Former Trump Supporters discussed their thoughts. It was started by a Trump voter in Florida who now frequently tweets about his journey from Trump to the Democratic Party. Trump's response to the coronavirus was the final straw, says Jessica Levine, 48 years old, who voted for Trump in Georgia and now plans to support the Democratic nominee. If we had sat down and had this conversation in August of last year, I probably would have voted for Trump again, because she's not as informed as progressives in Tony, and so she couldn't understand that Trump was raising the deficit, wasn't building the wall, and they had a failure of a health care plan. Brandon Hughes, 32-year-old patient access director at a Kentucky hospital, says he voted for Trump over Clinton because both were terrible. He feels a deep shame about his decision. He had to explain the response to his 6-year-old daughter, who cannot know any better of what a normal president should be doing. It's a pandemic where over 50,000 people have died, and he shows no empathy, no remorse, no compassion. It's all about the ratings and opening up the economy as quickly as possible for the billionaires to crash the economy. I don't think he's capable of compassionate empathy. If he can't show it during this, in what instance would he? Republican strategists note this pendulum could easily swing back. Well, that's what the Republican Party says. And many people are still wavering their support of Donald Trump within the 40% who support him. And the 6-7% of the people that voted for Trump did so out of the lesser of two evils. And now they're going to see the Democratic Party as the lesser of two evils. It is going to take death to break apart this cult. It is the death of Trump supporters. This is a real death cult that is going to result in the 46th president of the United States. This death cult is proof of that. Donald Trump was born on June the 14th of 1946. The Donald Trump support is nothing but a death cult. And this is why a Great Depression is on its way. Herbert Hoover was the 31st president of the United States. It's really time to wake up and smell the coffee before the shit hits the fan.